John Jones defeated Dominic Reyes last week in a UFC fight that sparked a lot of controversy. A lot of people don't feel as though John Jones deserved to win that fight, and it sparked a bit of debate regarding if judges at MMA or boxing events should reveal their scores to the fighters in between each round. And there's a podcast debut today for Adam Renner, who is here to talk about the MMA and what he thinks on the topic, if the judges should reveal scorecards to the fighters in between. First of all, how are you doing today, Adam?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, man.
Of course. So what's your opinion on this? What's your opinion on judges revealing the scorecards?
Well, I first saw Max Holloway tweet, and he was basically asking why is our sport the only one that hides the scorecards until the end of the fight. And so I was really thinking like the pros and cons about it, and the first pro, the first thing I had for this was that if a fighter is not really sure, like it's an unsure fight, it's very even back and forth, and the fighter knows going into the last round he's maybe down a round or two, and he needs to get like a big knockdown or just a knockout win, we could see more fighters going for broke instead of just kind of coasting and thinking that they're going to win. And an instance of this was a fight in 2018 between Darren Till and Stephen Thompson. And this was a very close fight, very controversial decision. Darren Till won the fight in a decision. The fight went 5 rounds. And in the 5th round, it was a very lackluster performance from both of them, just because both of them thought they were up in the fight. They weren't really doing much. It was just kind of, they were jogging around the ring for 5 minutes. And then after the fight, Stephen Thompson said he thought he was winning the fight when he was already down 3 rounds by that point, or 3 or 2 rounds on the scorecards. He was down. Mm-hmm. So if we do have open scoring in the sport, then he knows he's down, he goes for broke, and then the fight's more exciting.
But is it not his fault that he failed to recognize that he was down, or is it not his fault that, just in case I'm losing, I need to go after this guy?
Absolutely,
is that partially on him? My worry with revealing scorecards in between each round is there will be a lot more gamesmanship involved in the fighting sports, because we saw in the Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz boxing match that Anthony Joshua knew he was well ahead, so he just stayed out of Andy Ruiz's way for the last few rounds of the fight, and he was way ahead.
It wasn't difficult to do that.
It wasn't difficult to do that because Andy Ruiz was a humongous for that fight, putting on 16 pounds for that fight. But I'm worried about the gamesmanship of the last round. Like, big complaint about things like in football or in soccer is that there's going to be time wasting involved with the sport. So, if a soccer team knows they're up with 10 minutes left, they're going to bunker down and limit your opportunities to succeed to score. Mm-hmm. And I'm worried that will take away from boxing a little bit. If a guy knows he's up late, he won't be as aggressive and he'll just stay out of his opponent's way. Mm-hmm. And I think that will lead to less interesting fights. I'd rather, in the last round, if it seems like it's close, you want both guys going at each other. Right. You don't want one guy to realize, okay, I'm up, I don't need to do anything, I just need to keep this guy at bay.
Right. And the onus is on the fighters to go for the win every single round, which with open scoring, you're right, they could coast, and with the fight that I mentioned, they were both kind of being very lazy in the last round. And I watched fighting for a long time with my dad, and every time there's a huge upset call, my dad always tells me, don't let it go to the scorecards, because then the fight's out of your hands. It's not in your control anymore. So basically go hard every round and go for the win no matter what. To your point with being very passive in the last round of a fight, and we were talking about this a bit before. Yes, you can try and avoid a fighter. I just don't think that for 5 rounds in an MMA fight, or for 3 minutes in a boxing ring, you can just avoid any punches or any hits.
But guys like Floyd Mayweather kind of made their career off of being passive, tiring the guy out. So
Right.
why wouldn't he be able to do that later on in a fight when he knows he's ahead? If he can do it early on in a fight to tire a guy out.
Like he's very defensive all the time. I just like you have to have very good defense to do that, and if you don't, then you're gonna get caught. And he was obviously like that's a very good argument on your point because he was like a defensive god in boxing.
Yeah.
But
The reason he's undefeated.
exactly.
So let me get your opinion on it right now. Do you feel as though mixed martial arts and boxing should take this avenue and reveal scorecards in between each round?
From the fighter's perspective, I think it's a good idea to see it just from like a strategic standpoint. Like if you're late in like a soccer match and you're down, then you change your strategy to be more offensive.
That's a good point.
But for my selfish reasons, I don't want to see open scoring, just because for entertainment, knowing the score, like from boxing, it adds a lot of tension to
Later rounds.
Exactly, and
Do you think it would add more tension though if the score is revealed? Like, what if you know a guy is down and it's really close, and he has to go after the guy? Is that not kind of more exciting?
it does make it exciting. I just think that the whole like the narrative of the fight, like boxing and like combat sports, like we've seen it before. They're built on narrative and like storyline. Like
And Dana White does a good job of playing off of those storylines.
exactly,
Yeah.
and that's what makes the fight so big. So if we take that ambiguity away from the fight, I feel like from like a viewer's perspective and from my personal opinion, it doesn't ruin it, but it kind of makes the experience not as enjoyable as me not knowing in a close fight what the score is.
So the mystery is part of the entertainment.
Exactly, yeah. To put it in.
I think that boxing or mixed martial arts would thrive whether or not judges revealed scorecards in between. I think from an entertainment perspective, we're probably more entertained not knowing the scores. But I think there is a certain entertainment value in knowing that a guy is down and needs to come back late. But I think it's something that should be considered, though I feel as though the way they have it at the moment is smart because I don't like the gamesmanship aspect. Like, I think a good thing about baseball is that you have to pitch and get your 3 outs in the last inning. You can't just hold the ball, stop the other team from playing. You have to pitch and you have to stop the other guys from scoring runs. That's a good part about baseball, and I think that's a good thing that fighting sports have going for them. In the future, maybe, but I think for now, we should leave it as is. Do you just want to kind of sum up what you think about it? Last thing?
Well, like I said, I just think that it's better as a viewer not knowing, just because of that suspense and how it, like combat sports are just built around that. And I like seeing that a lot more than knowing through the fight who's up, and just the suspense of going into a big decision is what makes combat sports so exciting. And I feel if you take that away, it kind of takes away from the sport. Not obviously it's going to be, like you said, big whether or not they do open scoring, but for
nobody's going to stop watching
Exactly,
because of one or the other.
Yeah,
right. So we'll end it there. Thank you to Adam for being on his first podcast episode. You will likely see Adam in the future on more MMA, boxing related episodes. But thank you for listening to the Amateur Sports Podcast. We post every single day, so keep up to date with our content. You can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at AmateurPDC. You can subscribe on YouTube at Amateur Sports. All the links will be in the description. You can let us know what you think on those platforms as well. But to keep up to date, subscribe on YouTube, follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we will see you again tomorrow for another episode.